Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Steven Melendez, and I'm going to be bringing you the latest and greatest in soccer news from around the world. How is everyone doing out there? Welcome back to your favorite soccer podcast. As you guys know, I'm Steven Melendez from Miami, Florida. Just really excited to be talking to you guys once again. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about. The group stage draw for the Champions League is already out. We have some domestic cup games that have happened throughout the week that we're going to be talking about. And I have a brand new top 10 series coming your way for, a few shows now. So let's just get right into what we're going to be talking about in today's show. To start the episode, I'm going to be talking about the Champions League group stage, specifically groups A and B. I feel like it'd be good just to, break them down 2 groups per episode, just so that I can get into detail about each group. Next, we're going to be talking about the DFL-Supercup showdown between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. And then in the third part of the show, I'm going to be recapping the round of 16 matchups in the Carabao Cup. I've been doing that for a little while now, and we're getting deeper into that competition. I'm excited to see all these new matchups, that await us. And then, of course, the last part of the show, my favorite, because I get to be creative on this one, we're going to be talking about the top 10 goalkeepers of all time. Yes, I've done pretty much of each position now in the world, and now we are moving into the all-time category, and I'm so excited to learn about some of these guys, because as you guys know, I have not been a fan of soccer forever. I'm 26 years old. I've been a fan for maybe like 16 years now, and I'm just excited to just learn about all these really exciting players throughout the history of soccer. So let's just get right into it, starting with the Champions League group stage preview, starting with groups A and B. Now, what am I going to be talking about in this segment? Pretty much just the groups and how each team's history in the Champions League. I'm going to be talking about their top players, who they're going to need to step up in order to really, make some noise in the group stage and advance to the knockout rounds. And then, of course, where they're going to be ending up in the group. I have a couple, surprises in here, some that you guys might not expect. So let's get right into it. With Group A, we have Bayern Munich, I say Bayern München now, Atletico Madrid, RB Salzburg, and Lokomotiv Moscow. Now, this is obviously you got the holders in this group with Bayern München, having won last year and, pretty much being considered the best team in the entire world. And they have experience in this competition, of course. I mean, they're in it pretty much every single year. But even dating back into the, the mid-1970s, they won 3 back-to-back titles there from 74 to 76. One of the only clubs to ever do so, along with Real Madrid. And then they did, and then it took a little while for them to win again, but then they did win in 2001 and then 2013 when they defeated Borussia Dortmund. And then, of course, last year beating PSG and pretty much dominating the entire tournament. So they come into this group, obviously, as the clear favorites, and nobody, including myself, expects them to finish any worse than first in this group. Even though they will have some tough matchups against Atletico Madrid And, Diego Simeone's side, obviously he's a really good tactician, and his defensive tactics are obviously extremely good, probably one of the best in the world in my opinion. But let's just get into some of the top players that Bayern Munich has on their team. I've talked about this plenty of times already in my shows, but one more time just for good old sakes and for this, Champions League preview. So they obviously got Robert Lewandowski, Thomas Muller, Manuel Neuer, Leroy Sané. They have a bunch of great players, but I feel like the most important player in this group is going to be Thomas Muller. I usually always say Lewandowski, I say usually Neuer, but I feel like in this one, when they're taking on a team like Atletico Madrid, RB Salzburg, who likes to get out and running, you're going to be dealing with problems in the midfield. And Thomas Muller takes care of that. I mean, yes, they also have Leon Goretzka to really handle that, but they don't have Thiago anymore. And I feel like without Thiago in the lineup, they're going to need more control and more, just handle that midfield with more consistency. And I feel like Thomas Muller is really going to help with that. And he to me, is going to be the most important player for the group stage matches. Of course, as they keep on going on, they're going to need that star power of Lewandowski, Neuer to stop, a lot of these goals. The thing is, in this group, you don't have a lot of star power in the forwards. I mean, obviously, Atletico Madrid now have Luis Suarez, they have João Felix, but the way that they play is very, conservative. And I guess maybe if Diego Simeone sees this new side and he wants to ramp up the way that they play, change it up, which I doubt because he hasn't done it in all the years that he's managed Atletico. So I just expect them to, play the same way they have, which is why Mueller is going to be extremely important in controlling that midfield. If they can control that midfield and Mueller just manage it and pass and play some solid defense throughout these matches, there is no reason that Bayern Munich shouldn't be able to come out on top handily and be probably, the most dominant group in the group stage once again this season, just like they were last year. Like I said, I expect them to finish first in this group, no doubt about it. Next, we have Atletico Madrid. They have yet to win the Champions League. They were runners-up 3 times in their history, one in 1974 and then twice in 2004, one in 2014 and another in 2016, both of those being losses to Real Madrid during their three-peat. Of course, that honestly hurts even more when you consider the fact that those are their rivals. So Atletico obviously have not had the best of luck in this tournament. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with their style of play. I don't feel like being conservative and playing defensive really gets you wins. Sure, it'll keep you very competitive in literally every match you'll play. That's why Atletico are, some of the most, probably the most consistent club you'll find around. But they need to find a different gear on the attack. And I feel like this season, when you have a guy like Luis Suarez, João Felix, they no longer have Alvaro Morata. They loaned him out to Juve, but Angel Correa. You have a lot of players that can really get you going, and they showed it in that one match against Granada that I already talked about. Now, the most important player in this in the group stage for them and pretty much for the entire tournament is still going to be Jan Oblak. They're probably the best goalkeeper in the entire world, or he is the best goalkeeper in the entire world. I mean, there is no doubt about it. He has been as consistent as they come between the sticks, and they're going to need more world-class performances from him in order to really make it, through this tournament. Group stage aside, I don't think they have anything to worry about. I do not believe RB Salzburg is going to, produce enough on the offensive end, especially with them, just relying on a lot of youth. So I don't expect them to really make a big run for second place. I mean, it can always happen, but I just think Atletico Madrid have too much quality, are managed well enough to just make it into that next stage, albeit second, because I just do not see them. I mean, it honestly, to me, it all depends. Can Atletico change their style of play? Can they no longer play conservative? Can they try to change it up and, get out of their comfort zone? If they can, I could see it. If not, then just, they're going to continue to finish second, go up against a team first. But the thing is, in the knockout rounds, I feel like they definitely have a big chance. I already had them as one of my, if you guys saw my last episode, I had them in the top 10 teams that can win the Champions League this season because I just love the addition of Luis Suarez, and their attack just looks, another year of João Felix is going to look great. Obviously, they still have John Oblak, and of course, Jose Jimenez, they were able to keep, and Thomas Partey. They were able to hold on to a lot of their key pieces. So this team is definitely still one of the best in the world, no doubt about it. But I keep going back. They need to improve that, the attacking tactics. They just do. If they don't, it's probably going to be the same old for Atletico Madrid. But they have the personnel now. I feel like they have the best personnel that they have had in years, even when they had Antoine Griezmann. I mean, no disrespect to Griezmann, but I feel like João Felix, Luis Suarez, Correa, they just add Marcos Llorente. They just add a different dynamic and something more like team central that they can get going on any given night. So I still expect them to finish second in this group, but who knows? If they look better on the offensive end, maybe they can make a run at Bayern Munich. I highly doubt it, though. Next, we have RB Salzburg of the Austria League. Now, they've made it to the Champions League group stage 2 years in a row for the first time in club history, so they are definitely experiencing the most success that they have had, ever. They had just never made it out of the knockout rounds of the Champions League, and I don't expect that to change again now. They are, like I said, when I was talking about Atletico, relying on a lot of youth. They got 21-year-old Patson Daka, who was their leading goal scorer last season with 24 goals. He already has 3 this year, so he's obviously still riding that great form. You have Dominic Zobozlia, or Bozlai. I probably said that name wrong, but he's a 19-year-old. He had 9 goals, 10 assists last season. Will be expected to be great again this year. They do not have He Wang, the guy. He went to RB Leipzig. Obviously, that partnership that they have. So they're obviously going to miss him, and obviously Erling Haaland, who was there last year, made him really well, and probably was the reason they made it to the Champions League group stage. But then they also have Seko Koita, 20-year-old. He had 8 goals, 2 assists last season, already has 2 goals and an assist this year, and they're going to be relying on all those young players. So this is just going to be another year of them getting experience and battling for that third position to try to make it into the Europa League with Lokomotiv Moscow, which I do expect them to get it because I do like their youth quality. Even though they're relying on youth, it's going to be it's a lot of good quality there, and I expect it to be better than what Lokomotiv have coming out, because they are missing a few players that they had last season that really did help them out, which I'll be getting into soon. So I do expect them to finish third in this group. Next, we have Lokomotiv Moscow. Now, they've made it to the Champions League 6 times, all in the 21st century. They've actually made it to the group stage 3 years in a row now, from dating back to 2018. And they've only made it to the knockout rounds once, in 03-04, where they lost to Monaco in the round of 16. Now, this obviously, with them being in a group with Atletico and Bayern, do not expect them to get anywhere near second place. It just won't happen. They don't have the quality. They're still relying on guys from last season like Gregor Krychowiak, who had 9 goals, 2 assists last year, and he just doesn't have the quality. Fedor Smolov, he was good. He 3 goals, 3 assists last season. Already has 3 goals this year, so he's obviously taking a step forward. But then also Anton Miranchuk. He had 3 goals and an assist last season, and already has a goal and 2 assists this year. So obviously he's improving as well. But they are missing Alexei Miranchuk from last season, their leading goal scorer. He's no longer there. He went to Atalanta, and that's a big time miss. So without enough attacking quality in their side, I don't expect them to make it anywhere past 4th. So I see RB Leipzig. RB Salzburg getting that Europa League spot, and Lokomotiv, better luck next year. So now we're going to be moving on to Group B, where we have Real Madrid, Shakhtar Donetsk, Inter Milan and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Of course, I love saying that last name because, I just say it so well, But in this group, I actually feel like this is a very competitive group, aside from the top, even though this is one where I see my first upset, because I actually see Inter Milan possibly leading this group. I really do like Inter Milan's squad. As good as our Real Madrid are, especially on the defensive end, I just don't feel like they'll be producing enough offense, especially against a really good defense like Inter Milan, to lead the group. And then, of course, you're going to have Shakhtar and Borussia battling out for whoever makes it into the Europa League. But let's just get into each team one by one, starting with Real Madrid. Champions League winners 13 times. They went back to back 5 times. 5-time winners from 56 to 1960. Just ridiculous run there. And then, of course, they won the three-peat with Ronaldo from 16, 17, and 18. They're one of the best clubs in the world for a reason. And that's because they win it on the big stage, and they have for generations. So now in this generation, their top players are Karim Benzema, and then, of course, that dynamic defensive trio of Sergio Ramos, Casemiro, and Courtois. Now, I feel like that's going to be their main key, just keeping up how great that defense was last season. They need that to be continuing and moving into this season if they really want to make a dent in in this group stage and come out on top. However, like I said, talking about Inter Milan possibly leading this group, they need that offense. They need that attack to be consistent. Luka Modric, they need Toni Kroos to be good, Vinicius Jr. They are relying on a few younger pieces like Odegaard and Rodrigo. But in the end, it all comes down to Karim Benzema. Can he get the goals on a consistent basis to really lead this group? I don't think so. I feel like they're going to finish second. They're obviously, of course, they're going to move on to the knockout rounds. I do not see that big of a shock to happen where Shakhtar or Borussia, beat them in any of the matches that they play. Maybe a draw here and there, but I definitely see Real Madrid moving on to the knockout rounds just second in this group. I definitely see a big time upset happening here, and that's where I come in with Inter Milan. They've won the Champions League 3 times. Most recently in 2010, and they won in 65 and 64. Back when it was called the Champions Cup or the European Cup. But yeah, that's before my time, before my knowledge. But now I feel like they have just a really good overall squad. I love their attack of Romelu Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez, and then of course Alexis Sanchez. But then you also add one of the best fullback attackers, or one of the best attacking fullbacks, however you want to say it, in Achraf Hakimi. I think he really adds a different dynamic for this team, to where they'll be attacking and scoring goals on a consistent basis in the Champions League. And I feel like they can squeak out a win over Real Madrid. I feel like they get one win and then the other one would be a draw. And that's where I feel the difference would be. I mean, it'd be close. I'm not saying Inter Milan's going to run away with this group. Absolutely not. But I feel like it'll be really close. And a big part of that is because their defense is very solid. They have Steven De Vrij. They have one of the best defensive midfielders, which I've been saying for a while, in Marcelo Brozovic. And then, of course, the captain, Samir Handanovic. They have solid defenders, and enough of them to really, in my opinion, to stifle Real Madrid's attack. Of course, that I'm going to be really keeping an eye on those matches between Real Madrid and Inter Milan to see if I'm correct on this. But with that being said, I do believe they end up finishing first, because I just have a feeling here. Of course, you guys can come back. If you guys want to comment, tell me, hey, I'm wrong. Real Madrid's going to come out on top, because I know there is a whole lot of Real Madrid fans out there, and they're going to be telling me, dude, you're crazy. You have no idea what you're talking about. But I don't know. We'll see. I think Inter Milan have a good chance. I put them in my top 10 teams to win the Champions League, in the last show, and I feel like they have a really good chance here. So now we're going to move on to Shakhtar Donetsk, where They've had some experience, but their first Champions League stint was back in 2000, 2001, and their best finish was the quarterfinals in 2010, 2011, where they lost to Barcelona. They have had a few knockout round appearances, but they have mainly finished outside the top two of the group stage in their history. Now, I do like their overall attack. Like, they have a really good attack here with Junior Moraes, Taisong, but they are relying on a lot of youth here with Marcus Antonio, Tete, Dodo. They are experienced. They have a lot of youth here, and of course, if they are able to come out on top and play to the quality that I know that they have, of course they can finish third. However, I do not feel like it'll be enough, especially on the defensive end, to stop what Borussia Mönchengladbach will have. And that's why I see Shakhtar finishing last in this group. I feel like this is also a bit of a shocker for some people listening, because I feel like Shakhtar just have a very, explosive attack. And I feel like they had like 6 goals in the semifinal. No, I think I'm going a little too far. I think it was 4 goals in the semifinal of the the quarterfinals of the Europa League last year, where they just absolutely blew out. I forgot which team it was, but they just looked so good. And they're bringing back pretty much the same team, and they're getting those youth guys just an extra year of experience. And of course, this Champions League experience is going to be great for them, but I just don't think they have enough, because I believe Borussia Mönchengladbach have a better overall team when you're talking about their attack of Marcus Thuram and Alisson Pli. But then you're talking about they have the better goalkeeper among these two teams, and I feel like that is what ultimately is going to push them over the edge. Jan Sommer of Borussia Mönchengladbach is the key for them to get into the Europa League, because there's no way Mönchengladbach surprised enough to get second in this group. There's just absolutely no way. But they have experience, especially recently. They've made it to the Champions League 3 years. Their first appearance was in 2015. They had a back-to-back appearance in 2016, and then now in 2020. So I feel like with a lot of their youth, and or not really youth, but just their good, because Marcus Pli is only 27. Thuram, I forgot how old he is, but he's not in his 30s, so he's on the right side of 30. They got guys in their prime that are performing for him. I mean, you got Ginter. I like this group, and I feel like they can finish third and go into the Europa League. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the DFL-Supercup showdown between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed the last segment, I talked about the Champions League Group A and B, just, previewed all the teams and where they would finish in the group. Now, we're going to be talking about the DFL-Supercup showdown between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. In this game, of course, you're getting a classic rivalry between two German giants, and I was excited to watch this game. It's the match that you're waiting for in German football. You always want Bayern Munich versus Borussia Dortmund. And we got a classic match with Bayern Munich beating Borussia Dortmund 3-2. This was the 8th DFL-Supercup win for Bayern and the 5th loss for Borussia Dortmund. And for the most part, this was, at least in the second half, it felt like this was Borussia Dortmund's game to lose. Because even though Bayern Munich, had the lead for this entire match, even though it was tied for a lot of it, it just felt like Borussia Dortmund had a chance here to win the game. And they made a few questionable substitutions late in the game that I felt, and also they started some, people that I didn't expect. I thought Axel Witsel would get a start here. I thought you'd see Giovanni Reina, but you did not. Brandt was in there, and Julian Brandt, and he played well. He got a goal in this one, and a really, really good one at that. But in the start of this match, it was all Bayern Munich. They were doing, what Bayern Munich does, which is control the game, control the midfield, and just pretty much dominate the competition. And I expected just a bit more from Borussia Dortmund to start this game. When you're going into the season, especially when you have guys, and big note on this one, Jadon Sancho did not play. So that's obviously very huge. Something that, would obviously hurt Borussia Dortmund in this game. Because Jadon Sancho is their creative hub. He's the guy that gets them into their spots. And that was one of the things that seemed to be missing. And it's crazy because even despite not having him, they still played pretty well. You got very solid contributions from Brandt. I like what I saw from Royce. Haaland, despite getting a goal, kind of seemed a little quiet in this one, even though he kind of woke up a bit late in the game, especially in the second half where he got his goal, which was a really nice goal at that. Got a good run, got a good pass from Delaney, and, scored past Neuer. But then he had another chance at goal, which was even more wide open than the other one. Even though they were both pretty much one-on-one, this one he had way more time. And, of course, Neuer comes through and puts out that big right hand and stops the ball from for Borussia Dortmund not to get that 3-2 lead. And that would ultimately be the game for them because, man, what Kimmich did at the end of that game, some people say it's luck. Dude, that looked like downright skill. This guy, as he's falling down, I know he, it was a bit lucky to get that ball to rebound literally right back into his path, but bro, to have the skill, the composure, to as you're falling down, still be able to kick the ball over the goalkeeper and score your team a game winner. That's what you want in a player. You want a guy to be able to, even in those tough situations, come through with a result for you. And that's what Joshua Kimmich seems to do for this team, night in and night out. I don't know what else to say about him. He's literally. And the thing is, I actually don't give him enough credit because even when I was in the last segment, when I was talking about Bayern Munich, I didn't mention him. I didn't. And he came through huge for Bayern Munich in this game. He ended up he's the man of the match, in my opinion. They also got some other contributions. Of course, Thomas Müller getting that, really nice header in the back post from a cross from Alphonso Davies. Davies still doing what he always does. Putting in nice crosses, getting better with his passes. And then Müller, which is, he's always, at least last year, he was known more for his passing, but he can still get goals, man. And he got a really nice header, hit the post, and goes in to give him a 2-0 lead. And it kind of felt like it was going to be all Bayern Munich in this game. It really did. Of course, like I said, when the Julian Brandt goal came shortly after that, like in the 39th minute, Erling Haaland drawing in so much attention, and he got a nice assist. Although Lucas Hernandez kind of committed a little too much to Erling Haaland. Sewell was still there, could have made a play on it, but Lucas Hernandez. I understand Haaland is one of the best strikers in the world, and when you have a guy like that going into getting near your box, you gotta give attention to him. But it left Brandt wide open. That shot by Brandt wasn't going to... It doesn't matter if you had literally a brick wall in front of that goal. That was going through it. It was a rocket. It passed right by Neuer. He had no chance. And he made a statement. He made a statement with that ball. And, I mean, like I was saying, there were some questionable substitutions. Like, even after Haaland, I mean, he literally had a part in both of their goals, even though I feel like he could have done a little more, like, be a little more active with his runs. I guess they saw that. At least, Favre, the manager, saw that and substituted him in the 68th minute. I didn't like that too much. For Rainier, nonetheless, I mean, he's a good player, but he's no Haaland. And when you need to get a goal, I mean, I understand at that time they were tied 2-2, and maybe he was trying to, hold the lead, maybe take it into penalties. But against a team like Bayern Munich that, has so much quality in their side and is going to keep on getting opportunities, you can't play defensive. You can't play passive. And it ultimately hurt them and cost them this DFL-Supercup. They also made a switch for Munir in the same time in the 67th minute, and that one I understand completely because Munir just looked ineffective in this game. He couldn't really stop anything on defense. He wasn't really. I mean, he had an easy shot. He was wide open on the right wing. He was coming in, and he just completely missed the shot. Honestly, as a PSG fan, it kind of makes me feel like, it's fine. It's fine that we don't have him anymore on our team because, I mean, he didn't look like he had any composure. He looked like he was out of his element in this game. And that does not look good for him. But like I said, I mean, Bayern Munich pretty much dominated most of this game. The second half was definitely on Dortmund's favor. But overall, Bayern Munich had more possession, 57%. They passed the ball even better, 87% of 630 passes, while Dortmund completed 78% of 471 passes. But, I mean, that's expected. Bayern Munich are a much better side, much more quality side, and much more organized side, especially with Hansi Flick there managing them. Yes, they had that 4-1 loss to Hoffenheim, but, I mean, that happens. It's football. Best teams in the world lose, and they're not going to win every single match. I mean, I know 4-1's pretty bad, but still, it happens. But Bayern Munich always looked like the more dominant side, and that was still the case in this game. Even though Dortmund did look better in the second half, like I keep saying, and they did. I don't know, I didn't like some of the, like, they put in Giovanni Reina too late. Same thing with Bellingham in the 72nd and 76th minute, respectfully. Bišek came in for Hummels. I guess I'm trying to, maybe get a goal towards the end, but obviously that backfired because those all came in the 70, in the mid 70 minutes. And then that's when Joshua Kimmich came through in the 82nd minute and scored that ridiculous goal. It just, I don't know what else to say, man. Lewandowski was kind of not seen. I mean, even though he kind of got that assist for Tolisso, he got him open. Same thing with Kimmich. I mean, he also got that pass there too. But in terms of scoring goals, that's the thing with Lewandowski. I mean, he's such a good striker that he doesn't need to score goals in order to be effective in this game. It kind of feels like he has a quiet night, but in the end, he still, even though they don't count as assists, he had a big hand in both of those. The first goal of the game where Tolisso, hit the post and then had to hit that rebound in, he would have gotten that assist. And same thing with Kimmich, who got his first shot rebounded, or, saved. And then that ridiculous falling on the floor, like last minute shot to give the team the lead. Lewandowski had a hand in both of those, and he played an overall solid game. Just not what you'd expect from a top striker. But again, like I said, when you're not getting goals, what can you do to help the team? Those are when the best strikers show themselves. And that's what Lewandowski did in this game. He still was a really good link-up play player, which he always has been, and got his team in the right positions to score the goals. And of course, like I always say when I talk about Lewandowski, he has the talent around him to help him, obviously. But even when the pressure is on, even when he's got all the eyes on him, he makes the right decisions. He makes the right decisions. And that's what he did in this game. Towards in the beginning of the second half, I kind of felt like Dortmund definitely came out with a much better intensity, and Bayern Munich definitely felt it. They had more opportunities in their second half, and were getting more. They just couldn't get consistent shots. Dortmund only had 7 shots to Bayern Munich's 11. They did have 4 on target, and Bayern had a 7 on target. So I mean, the accuracy on these shots were there. But Dortmund just didn't get enough of them, and I feel like when you lose a guy like Haaland, obviously they let him go in the 68th minute. They subbed him off for Reiner, which I've already talked about, but it's just, you lose a target man. Like, there's no surprise that when Bayern Munich lost 4-1 to Hoffenheim, they sat Lewandowski for Xerxes. Lewandowski was on the bench, obviously giving him some rest, because they felt like they could have beaten Hoffenheim without him. But that just wasn't the case. And by the time he came back in, the rhythm just wasn't there for the team. And it obviously cost them 3 points. Now, Bayern Munich made a few changes themselves. I mean, they brought in Gnabry for Coman, kind of like shortly after the halftime. And it's kind of funny. I mean, right after they made that substitution, Haaland scored that second goal. And the thing is, it's like, I feel like Dortmund definitely had opportunities. They for sure had opportunities, but I definitely like the substitutions that Bayern Munich made late in this game. I mean, even though the 2 at the end, Xerxes for Lewandowski, Musiala for Martinez, came after that, that third goal, so they were obviously just trying to hold on. But they brought in Richards for Pavard. I thought that really changed the game. 76th minute substitution. And Richards played well. I mean, even though he only got like 14, 15 minutes in this game, he still played pretty well. And that's what you want from your substitutions, coming in and having a hand in the game. And he played well. He played well defensively. And, for Pavard, who still is probably trying to get his legs under him after not playing pretty much most of last season, you like what you're seeing. You like what you see from pretty much your entire team. But what really impressed me about Bayern Munich is the fact that they were able to control the midfield in a big way. And I said that in the last segment, that I feel like that is going to be the key for them to, really make a big charge in the Champions League once again. And that's why I said Thomas Müller was going to be their most important player, because he's going to hold a big part in them, managing that midfield. And he did that in this game. But again, it's just like that collective effort from Bayern Munich, just everybody coming through and really helping out. I mean, obviously Kimmich, like I've said already, honestly, we got to start looking at him as their best player, if not top 3. Putting him in that same conversation with Lewandowski and Neuer, who, by the way, Neuer, after a lot of talk about him getting old, and I know I've said this in other shows, it just needs to keep being said. This man gets saves when it's necessary. Obviously it's always necessary, but I'm talking about in those pressure moments. Like when Erling Haaland, one of the best young strikers, is heading your way, 1v1, you need to get a stop. And that shot at the end was on target. Yet he puts his big old mitt out there and stops that ball from going in. I don't know any other goalkeeper that makes such game-winning saves like Manuel Neuer. I really don't. It's just, he would have gotten man of the match for me if it wasn't for how dominant Kimmich was in this game. But that's the thing, man. Manuel Neuer just always comes through for his club when he needs it, when they need it. It's just one of those traits of his. He's a leader of men. It's just one of those things. And I would want him on my team. Of course, anybody would want him on their team, but it's just, even if I had the option to go with like a guy like John Oblak, or a guy like, who else on top, Alisson, I'd still probably want Manuel Neuer on my team, because I feel like when it gets to, this team gets a counterattack and it's just you and Neuer, that attacker's going to be a little scared. They're going to be overthinking it, because that guy has shown it time and time again that he can get those saves. That's the guy I want in between the sticks. And he just showed it again in this one. And that is exactly why Bayern Munich, gets this victory 3-2. I mean, of course, they don't get this victory without Kimmich and his ridiculous diving shot, but Manuel Neuer, man, just coming through every single game, it seems, for Bayern Munich. And I feel like that's going to be their number one spot. That's going to be like their number one advantage in most of the games that they play in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga, of course. But yeah, so that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the round of 16 for the Carabao Cup, just recapping all the games going on there. So stick around.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hey guys, welcome back. If you missed the last segment, I recapped the DFL Cup showdown between Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich. And now we're going to be talking about the Carabao Cup Round of 16. Just going to recap the games and then, of course, look ahead to the quarterfinal draws. So let's get started with Tottenham versus Chelsea. Two teams that come into the season, looking for answers. I mean, Chelsea, obviously, I've talked about them enough, having all these new transfers, and so far has not turned out as, good as they were hoping. And of course, Tottenham, I've said they've looked like a complete mess so far this season, but they have gotten some good signings in Bale and Reguilon. Reguilon has already played for them, but Bale has yet to, play a match. So in this game, we had a few interesting starts for Tottenham. Lamela and Bergwijn started up top. Harry Kane and Lucas Moura were on the bench. They would eventually come in as a substitute, but the beginning of this game seemed like it was all Chelsea. They were getting more opportunities, and it eventually led to a Timo Werner goal in the 19th minute. And it was a really nice goal. I mean, Azpilicueta absolutely making, I think it was Tangana completely miss on a tackle, and then just finding Timo Werner streaking up the middle. And he got a really nice goal through a lot of bodies. It was at least like three guys in front of him. And that's what you need. That's what you need your top striker to do. And he did. So, and that was actually his first goal for Chelsea. So, good for Timo Werner, getting that goal, but it was far from over. From that point on, it kind of felt like Tottenham were controlling most of this game, even though Chelsea had most of the possession. It just felt like Tottenham were doing more with the ball when they had it, and they just weren't getting, the final ball that they were hoping for. Eventually, they did get a goal towards the end of the game, with Reguilon setting up Eric Lamela with a very solid cross, literally leaving Lamela wide open. He controlled it very well with his chest, and then just, scored it right past Mendy, who I didn't even mention. What is his name? I think it's Eduardo Mendy. Yeah, Eduard Mendy, the brand new goalkeeper signing, who looks to possibly be taking over Kepa's spot. That's yet to be shown because, of course, this is just a cup match. He could be seen as a backup goalkeeper, but after the game, Frank Lampard saying that he was impressed with what Mendy did, even though when they went to penalties at the end of the match, at the end of regulation, he did not stop a single penalty. Tottenham went 5 for 5. Chelsea ended up going 4 for 5 with Mason Mount completely missing the shot at the goal at the end, going wide left. Lloris went the right way, but it didn't matter because Mason Mount just completely missed the target, and he's gonna be living with that for a little while. But man, I mean, for the most of this penalty, Tottenham went left. Like Eric Dier, Eric Lamela, Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, and Lucas Moura all went to the left side of the goal, and Mendy just kept on choosing right. He just wasn't getting it. And then the minute he chooses left, Harry Kane, the last penalty kicker, went right. Of course. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it is in these penalty kicks. It's, you pick the right way and you're looking good. You pick the wrong way and you look like a fool. And Mendy just couldn't read the Tottenham kickers. For Mason Mount, I mean, you got to feel bad for him. Obviously, he was looking great last season, and he's kind of got off to a slow start this season, and that penalty kick kind of epitomizes all of that. That's going to be hanging on his head for a little while now, because now Chelsea are out of the Carabao Cup. Tottenham move on and will be facing off against Stoke City in the next round. Obviously, I'll talk into a little more detail, at the end of all these games. So now we're going to move on to Newcastle versus Newport County. And honestly, after watching Newport County in a lot of these games, I believe they took on Watford in the last round, they looked very strong. I know it's probably the competition they were taking on, but they looked very good against the competition they were taking. They were facing. And I was actually rooting for them. I was hoping that they'd, be the surprise team of this tournament. And at the start of this game, it looked like they would be, because Tristan Abrahams scored in the last round, scored once again just 5 minutes into the game off a rebound, and it was a nice goal at that. It just looked like their activity was, a little too much for Newcastle to handle in the beginning of this game, but shortly after that, they would pretty much dominate this game. Newcastle had about 65% possession, and they had more than twice as many shots as Newport County, and they only had 2 shots on target. 12 shots for 2 shots on target for Newport County. For Newcastle, it was 27 shots to 10 on target. And, obviously a huge difference there, and that pretty much made the game. I mean, you got some solid contributions from a lot of your team. I mean, Caleb Wilson came in for Almiron late in the game, and obviously he's been having a great season and showed it once again. But man, that goal by John Joe Shelby late in the game, 87th minute, to tie the game up was just beautiful. I mean, to just fake out the Newport County goal defender time and time. It was like at least 3-4 fake outs in that game, and once he made him fall and he knew he was going for goal. I mean, he knew he was going for goal from the minute he got it. He was not giving that ball up. He wanted to take that shot and send this team into penalties, and that's what he did. Just inside the box from the left side, kicked it all the way to the top right corner, and it was just perfect. You couldn't have asked for anything better, and it sent them into the penalties, where it was a little bit shaky at the start. I mean, Caleb Wilson scored the first one for Newcastle, but then Jolinton, missed the second one, while Newport County scored all their first 3 penalties. After that, Ryan Taylor missed his 4th for Newport, and it was tied after 5 kicks, so they headed into sudden death. Sean Longstaff came up for Newcastle and scored, calmly. Past the goalkeeper, didn't even think about it. He literally, as the whistle was blown, he was already running in, so where he wanted to go. And then Brandon Cooper just absolutely hit his shot over the crossbar, no chance for it to go in. Even the analyst the commentator was saying, I don't like that short run he was taking, and he was right. I mean, it obviously didn't give him enough time to get his feet on the ball. and he completely missed it. So Newcastle are off into the next round, into the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup, and they have a favorable matchup. They're going up against Brentford in the next round. All right, so now we're going to be talking about the Manchester City versus Burnley match, where Manchester City defeated Burnley 3-0. And honestly, in this game, it was all Raheem Sterling. I mean, the speed and pace of this man was absolutely giving them trouble. Like the entire game, they could not deal with it. He should have had like 4 goals in this game, to be honest. He did end up getting 2 goals and an assist, which I don't really feel like that was an assist. I mean, he technically got a foot on the ball, but then it got a deflection off the defender, and Ferran Torres scored at the end. It was like in the 65th minute, but in the end, Raheem Sterling it was just too much for Burnley to handle. Honestly, I gotta give props to the goalkeeper for Burnley. He absolutely kept them in this game more than they should have been. What was it? Bailey Peacock Farrell. He played extremely well and saved a lot of shots. Like a lot of shots. If I go back to this, he saved 5. They should have had like 8 goals in this game, easy, because those were some really nice saves from him. But again, this all comes back to Raheem Sterling, who just played so well. I mean, the pace that he had just continued to cause problems for the defense, and those 2 goals that he had were in part of his pace, and not because he outran the defense. What it was is that his pace before these 2 goals that he had would cause so many problems for them that they would overrun and feel like they had to over commit, and it would leave him open in the middle. It happened twice. One in the 35th minute where Mendy found him, and then again in the 49th where he was found by Ferran Torres. I mean, not much else can be said about this except that Manchester City looked really good in this one. They went again with like an academy product, Cole Palmer. They went with Cole Palmer in this one instead of going with their full normal starting 11. But of course, I mean, it didn't matter because they had so much quality down the rest of the lineup. They had Mahrez, Rodrigo, De Bruyne, Walker, Laporte, Fernandinho. They did go with American goalkeeper Zach Steffen again, because obviously that's who they're going with in the League Cup. But overall, great game for Manchester City, and they will be facing Arsenal in the next round. Now let's get into the Manchester United versus Brighton match, which ended in a 3-0 win for Man U. Now, to start this game, I don't feel like Manchester United played to their best potential, but they were still solid. They obviously had more quality than Brighton, even though I have been behind Brighton, in Brighton's corner pretty much all season. I called them to be the surprise of the year, and they've done pretty well so far, but in this game, they just clearly looked outmatched. Juan Mata, what a game this guy had in this one. Just continues to show his quality, even though he's going up in age. Age is just a number, man. And he just showed it in this one. Setting up that first goal for Scott McTominay. Just a perfectly lobbed, free kick to him for an easy header. Obviously, of course, White keeping him, on side at the end was obviously helping. But then that second goal, I feel like that second goal is what Manchester United need to be looking for all season. It was such a nice team goal. Juan Mata obviously controlled most of it, and he ended it. He started it off by working it on the right side and then moving it to the left. And then just a nice pass into Donny van de Beek, who then gave a beautiful touch, side pass to Juan Mata, who was making the run. And then he just faked out a few Brighton defenders and just scored the goal. I mean, it was a really nice team goal and honestly an all-around great game from Man U. And then, of course, that last goal. What a beautiful free kick from Paul Pogba. I mean, it was perfectly lined up. I mean, and he hitting the top left of the post to get it 3-0. I mean, that's Pogba, man. That's Pogba showing his quality and getting a goal for his team when they need, not when they needed it, but, it's just kind of just to settle things down. Just to show, yeah, we're Manchester United, we're here, and we want to make the most of our time here in the Carabao Cup. And that is why they're moving on and Brighton are not. So they will be facing Everton in the next round. That's going to be an exciting one to talk about. Next, we got Everton versus West Ham United. And in this game, I mean, it was another Dominic Calvert-Lewin show. I mean, this man, another hat trick for him in this game. Obviously having a career season already. And, I mean, what else can I say? He's a sharpshooter, man. He got the first goal in the 11th minute. Michael Keane giving him that assist. And I'll tell you what, Michael Keane has been really underrated so far this season. Has been a big part of what Everton have done. And of course, I mean, they beat Everton. They beat West Ham United 4-1, just to let you guys know. They absolutely dominated this game. Richarlison has been probably the best player on the team. Gets a goal in the 56th minute, courtesy of James Rodriguez, who has been an excellent signing for him. And then Calvert-Lewin gets 2 goals at the end of the game, 6 minutes apart. Just dominates West Ham United in this one. They do get a consolation goal right after halftime. They got it to 1-1 with a Robert Snodgrass goal from Felipe Anderson. But it just wasn't going to cut it because literally 10 minutes later, they get that Richarlison goal, and Everton just had way more quality in this game. And eventually, West Ham were going to go up against a tough competition, and they were going to have to play near-perfect football. And they just did not in this one. And that is why Everton are off into the next round, and they will be going up against Manchester United, just like I just said. So next, we get Brentford versus Fulham. Brentford continue their surprising run, defeating Fulham 3-0. I mean, what can I say about this group as they continue to defeat, to defeat anybody who's in front of them? I mean, it's going to be hard. And they get a favorable matchup. I mean, they get to go up against Newcastle. They don't have to go up against Everton, Man United, Arsenal. They don't have to go Manchester City. They get Newcastle. So they have a really good chance of making it into the next round. Getting to the semifinal of the Carabao Cup. A championship side. I mean, it's not like that's uncommon, but I mean, that's still not expected every year. And Brentford looked dominant in this game. Getting a goal from Marcus Fors, 2 from Said Benrahma, and just never looked back. Fulham, I mean, not a great show. I mean, they get this favorable matchup going up against Brentford. They're in the Premier League. They're getting the, solid competition week in, week out, and they just can't show up for this one. Don't know what to say about Fulham. I mean, they're proving my predictions before the season right, and yeah, man, they're not moving on. Brentford are, and they'll be taking on Newcastle in the quarterfinals. Next, we got Stoke City versus Aston Villa. And we got Stoke City once again. Another championship side upsetting a Premier League side in Aston Villa 1-0. Sam Vokes with a solid goal from a Thompson assist. I mean, Thompson's been just dealing out assists left and right in this tournament. And I mean, and they win this game. They looked solid in this game. They pretty much dominated the match. Let me get to some of these stats here real quick. They should have probably lost this game because Aston Villa are obviously the higher quality side. They had the problem is they didn't have Grealish playing in this game, and that hurt them. Grealish is not playing. They didn't even have what's his name. They didn't even have Douglas Luiz. Ollie Watkins was coming off the bench. It's like they felt that they were going to get past this team with ease, and it hurt them. And they're ending their tournament hopes. And now Stoke City get a quarterfinal matchup against Tottenham. Good luck to them in that one. And now last but certainly not least, we get an Arsenal versus Liverpool fun match. I mean, they've shown to be able to go back and forth. This one certainly wasn't that. Ended in an 0-0 draw in regulation. But it went to sudden death in penalties. And Liverpool just could not get it done. I honestly, in part, it's kind of their fault. I mean, they did not have all of their top players playing in this one. I mean, you had Salah, but you didn't play Andrew Robertson. You know, they didn't have, Mane in there. And they thought they could make it through. And they just couldn't. They didn't even have Fabinho in there. They didn't even sub him in. And they did sub in Wijnaldum for Jota late in the game. And they just didn't have enough, man. Minamino up top. They did have Salah, but that was pretty much the only real, top side. I mean, they had Van Dijk in defense, and he obviously did his thing. They got a draw in the end. They didn't allow a goal. But Arsenal, they had Saka, they had Saka and Xhaka. They brought in Lacazette late in the game, Maitland-Niles. But they didn't even have Aubameyang. This was a very bad loss for Liverpool, man. A very bad loss. To lose to Arsenal once again. This is like their third loss to Arsenal this season. Or was it second? Because I know for sure they lost the Community Shield to Arsenal early in the year. And now to lose in the Carabao Cup to Arsenal. Arsenal seems to have Liverpool's number. I mean, not in the Premier League, obviously. Because that's when it really counts. But, I mean, Arsenal, man. They get the job done and they move on to the next round against Manchester City. And now let me quickly just talk about those quarterfinal matches. I mean, Arsenal versus Manchester City, that's going to be a really fun one to watch. Because now you're in the quarterfinals. You know they're going to bring out their best stuff, especially when they're taking on tough competition like this. And I'm really excited to see Aubameyang, Lacazette, Willian, and not to mention, Willian didn't even play against Liverpool. I'm excited to see those guys play against a Manchester City squad that are obviously looking to win everything. Now, with Stoke City going up against Tottenham, it's going to be hard for Stoke City to continue this wild ride, this unprecedented ride. And Tottenham looked really good against Chelsea. Even though it went into penalties, Tottenham were the better side in this game. And I would be extremely surprised if Stoke City complete another upset and defeat Tottenham. But we'll just have to wait and see. And now this next match, Brentford versus Newcastle. I mean, I don't know, man. I do not... I could see Brentford going through again, man. I'm not extremely confident in Newcastle. I know they got some great young players that have been playing well, like Callum Wilson, but I could see Brentford, who have been very dominant in the Carabao Cup, to go on to the semifinal. That would be a hell of a story right there. And then, of course, we got Manchester United versus Everton, another very, very exciting matchup that I cannot wait to see. I'm in love with Everton this season. I mean, with the changes that they've made to their midfield and with how dominant Calvert-Lewin has been, and then Richarlison, and they got a lot of quality in their side. And then, of course, they got Pickford at goalkeeper. So, overall, they have a very solid team. But Manchester United are also very high quality. And I would not be surprised if they go with their full 11 in the next match. Especially taking on a top team like Everton and them being one win away from being in the top four. So, I'm very excited to see those play out. I'll definitely be watching them, and I'll be talking about them afterwards. So, stay tuned for that, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because when I come back, I'm going to be talking about the top 10 goalkeepers of all time.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back, everyone, to the last part of the show where we're going to be talking about the top 10 goalkeepers of all time. Now, before I start getting into these legendary names, I just want to first say that I'm sure you guys already know I am not, a historian of soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. I haven't seen most of these guys play. Maybe like one or two, maybe actually three total guys on this list I have seen play. And for the rest, I'm just going off of what I've been seeing online, combination of stats, ones that I can find, because a lot of these guys played way back in the day. So just bear with me. I'm obviously this list might not be like yours, so just let me know. Even if you guys disagree, let me know in the comment section what you guys think are the top 10 goalkeepers of all time. So let's get started with my list, with number 10 being Edwin van der Sar. Mostly known for his time at Ajax and Manchester United, he boasts nearly an 80% save percentage, 0.93 goals allowed per 90 minutes, 168 clean sheets in 379 matches. Of the stats I could find, he had way more with Ajax, so definitely those clean sheets possibly in the 200 plus in like nearly somewhere around 500 matches played. So man, he's got a lot of accolades. I mean, this guy had won 4 Eredivisie championships, 4 Premier League championships, 2 Champions League titles. He was the Dutch Football Goalkeeper of the Year 4 separate times, and was considered the best European goalkeeper 2 times. Now, from the highlights that I saw, van der Sar was an extremely long goalkeeper and had amazing reflexes. I mean, that's pretty much going to be the case for most of the guys on this list. I'm pretty much all of them, because, you're not going to be a top 10 goalkeeper of all time without having cat-like reflexes. But, Edwin van der Sar, the one thing I got from him was the fact that he was such a long goalkeeper. And usually when you're very long, you're very tall, you're not as, nimble, athletic. He still had that. So Edwin van der Sar, absolutely, with all the accolades that he has, deserves to be in my top 10 goalkeepers of all time. Next, at number 9, we have the first guy that I have remembered watching, Iker Casillas. He played, the Spanish goalkeeper, having mainly played for Real Madrid in his prime, and then, of course, towards the end of his career, has played for Porto. This man has done it all, won it all. 6-time domestic league titles, 3-time Champions League titles, obviously all with Real Madrid, and he won the 2010 FIFA World Cup. So he has pretty much won it in every way he possibly can. And I know some people might say, they don't like this kind of selection here. They don't feel like he did enough. But the accolades speak for themselves. He was also the 5-time FIFA 5 Pro World 11 and the 6-time UEFA Team of the Year. So he has been recognized as the best goalkeeper in so many different ways. And the stats speak for themselves as well. 238 clean sheets in 626 matches played. Nearly a 76 save percentage. This man has done it all. And, recently retired. So, I was at least able to see Casillas for a little while. I knew he was just an absolute monster for Real Madrid when he was there. The move that he took to Porto, was it kind of sucked the way it happened, but, it was kind of time for him to leave. But yeah, man, Iker Casillas, number 9, best goalkeeper of all time. Number 8, this is the first that I definitely do not remember at all, but a lot of people were saying that he was the first German goalkeeper to really set the tone for Germany in that position, Sepp Maier. Of course, like almost all of the best German goalkeepers played for Bayern Munich, and he won the World Cup in 1974, the UEFA European Championship one time, was 4-time Bundesliga champion, 3-time Champions League winners, and was the German Footballer of the Year 3 separate times. Sepp Maier, he's actually was known for his weird, appearance. Had long shorts, always had long hair, and people always kind of like knew him as that guy. But he was one of the best German goalkeepers of all time. Not as good as a couple guys coming up later in this. So actually, one coming up next. But he definitely was considered the German goalkeeper that set the tone, kind of like laid the path for these guys coming up. So Sepp Maier absolutely deserves to be in this top 10. And he comes in at number 8. So, and I actually could not find any stats for him. I'm sure they're out there. But from what I was looking, I could not find them. So, he's still one of the best. Those accolades don't speak for themselves. And now we're going to be talking about number 7. This man I definitely know, and I've talked about him plenty on this list. Not on this list, but on this show. Manuel Neuer. Yes, this man has been an unbelievably great goalkeeper for years. It started off with Schalke, and obviously now has been with the Bundesliga champions Bayern Munich for years now, and he has lived up to that, goalkeeper or Bayern Munich goalkeeping legacy, and he has definitely held it really, really well. Has 252 clean sheets in 548 matches, has won 7 Bundesliga titles, 2 Champions League titles, and could possibly looking at more, which would get him even further up this list. Did win a World Cup as well in 2014. Was listed the UEFA Team of the Year 3 times, German Male Footballer of the Year 2 times, FIFA 5 Pro World 11 4 times. I mean, Manuel Neuer, one of the best to ever do it. Probably considered past his prime, but is still, like you guys know, I've even on this episode, even on this show, I've talked about him. He has always seemed to get those saves when it matters, and I'm sure a lot of these top goalkeepers of all times have done that as well. But this guy I've actually seen do it myself, so maybe you could see that as like a little favoritism, but man, he definitely deserves to be in this top 10. If he's not in your top 10, I don't know who you're putting him in for. I mean, I know there's a lot of other good, goalkeepers that you can slide in here, but Manuel Neuer needs to be in your top 10. So he comes in at number 7, absolutely well deserved. And now we're going to be moving on to Dino Zoff at number 6. Mainly known for his time at Napoli and Juve, this Italian goalkeeper has pretty much done a lot of winning throughout his career. Literally up until the end, when he won the 1982 FIFA World Cup at the age of 40. The oldest winner to ever win the World Cup, and he was a big part of it. So, it started off when he won the European Championship in 1968, and then he literally continued to be as good as possible up until the age of 40. And I know that happens with goalkeepers, but to win the World Cup at that age, I mean, and usually when you look at a goalkeeper, you're expecting them to be, very outgoing, very, crazy out on the pitch. Zoff was not that. He was the most calm and unflappable goalkeeper ever. Was a perfect leader for club and country for decades. And quick little fact here, he had the international record, or I think he still has the international record of not conceding a goal in 1,143 minutes. Think about that. 1,143 minutes without conceding a goal. That's legendary stuff. He deserves to be here, but he is not the best Italian on this list. I'm pretty sure you guys know who I'm thinking of. But aside from that, Zoff has also won 6 Serie A titles, 2 Coppa Italia winner. And and a UEFA Cup winner as well. So Zoff has won it in the big stage, won it in the domestic league, and he is one of the best goalkeepers of all time. So now we are getting into the top 5. And here I'm going to be talking about another Italian goalkeeper that I have been very lucky to watch in Gianluigi Buffon. This man has won twice as many domestic league titles as Zoff, won the World Cup as well. The only thing that I would say about him, same thing with Zoff, is that he did not win the Champions League. He had a chance with Juve a few times. They just never were able to get over the hump with him there. They still haven't, even with Ronaldo there. But Buffon had also made it to the UEFA Team of the Year 5 separate times. Was named the best FIFA men's goalkeeper in 2017. Was the 2002-2003 UEFA Club Footballer of the Year. This man has accolades over accolades, and of course won the FIFA World Cup in 2006 with Italy. That was huge. If he wouldn't have won that, I probably wouldn't have put him over Zoff, but with that win, he deserves it. He also has a 77% save percentage, allowed just about 0.8 goals allowed per 90 minutes, 288 clean sheets in 635 matches. The man's a legend. He played for my favorite team, PSG, for a year, even though it didn't really go well, but it was nice to see him there. And overall, he has just had an amazing career and certainly deserves to be on any top 10 list of all time for goalkeepers. Next, at number 4, we have another man that I've never seen, but again, he gets a lot of praise throughout the internet. And, I saw some of his highlights, and, he did some amazing things in his career. England goalkeeper Gordon Banks. He won the 1966 World Cup, was named the FIFA Goalkeeper of the Year 6 separate occasions. That's huge, especially when he was around the same time as, another really great goalkeeper that's coming up. Unfortunately, the problem with Gordon Banks, not the problem, but just, the thing that holds him back a bit is the fact that his career was cut a bit short. In his early 30s, he got in a car accident and he lost his right eye and was forced to retire. That really sucks, especially when he made what is considered probably the greatest save of all time when he saved Pelé's header with his fingertips in the 1970 World Cup. Even Pelé said he thought it was going in. Banks thought it was going in. And it's widely considered the greatest of all time. So that 100% gets him a lot of brownie points, gets him over a lot of players on this list. And, another thing that kind of holds him back is the fact that he only played for Leicester City and Stoke City throughout his career. So he didn't get a chance to play for a top club. And couldn't get any of those top club honors like the Champions League, So if he would have won one, if he would have been, would have done that, I could have seen him be on top of either of the next two guys coming up on this list. But he was probably the best at anticipating forward balls, better than pretty much anyone, and had overall great goalkeeping skills. So Gordon Banks, number 4th on this list, absolutely deserved. Next, we got Peter Schmeichel at number 3. I mainly know his son, Kasper Schmeichel, for Leicester City, who has, obviously been a great goalkeeper, nowhere near as good as his father, but, still a solid goalkeeper. But, man, I wish I could have seen what Peter Schmeichel did. I did see some highlights, and wow, what this guy does, lays his body out more than anybody I can even think of. His his reaction time is literally ridiculous, and he's got the accolades on top of that to go with it. He won the Premier League 5 separate times, was the Premier League Player of the Season in 95-96, won the Champions League in 98-99, and was a 3-time Danish Male Footballer of the Year. So, I mean, Schmeichel, aside from being a great leader, kind of when he was back there, Manchester United fans just felt so comfortable. I actually read this one comment online that says, when you had Peter Schmeichel behind the sticks, you felt as comfortable as a daughter getting tucked in bed by Batman. You know, Batman as your father, of course. I mean, maybe that came out wrong, but I kind of laughed at that, and I was like, all right, so that kind of makes me understand how good Peter Schmeichel was. I mean, you just felt really good, and then when I saw his highlights, that doubled down on that. I mean, he was great. He can make any save you needed him to, and that is why he comes in as the 3rd best goalkeeper of all time. Now, next we have the best German goalkeeper of all time. You should know who this is, Oliver Kahn. And honestly, when I was first getting into soccer, my manager at this place I was working at told me about this guy, told me, look at his highlights. You're going to want to see them. This guy was an absolute monster. And he was right, man. This guy was a beast. Like, you would be like, he would put fear into attackers' eyes because, I mean, the intensity that he played with was on another level, more than anybody else on this list. And his stats are also really great. I didn't get all of them because I couldn't really find them. I mean, honestly, the FB reference isn't like the best website to find stats. However, his accolades were top. I mean, 8-time Bundesliga titles. He won the Champions League in 2000, 2001. And who can forget his triple penalty kick saves against Valencia in that penalty shootout to win the Champions League title? Easily the best moment of his career. The only thing that holds him back and that he was not able to get was a World Cup win. And I honestly, if he would have gotten that World Cup win, he might have been able to challenge number 1 on this list. However, it just was not enough to get over that hump. Because, I mean, the next guy is just legendary. I mean, people, even though I never watched him, people just never stop talking about him. But before I get to him, let me just continue with what Oliver Kahn did. I mean, he was also a 2-time German Male Footballer of the Year, made the 2002 FIFA World Cup All-Star Team, and won the 2002 FIFA World Cup Golden Ball. So overall, Oliver Kahn had an amazing career, able to win that Champions League title, like pretty much off his hands. I mean, that's it right there, dude. To get 3 penalty kick saves to give your club the title win, I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than that for a goalkeeper. So, huge props to Oliver Kahn and his illustrious career. Next, at number 1, last and certainly, obviously not least, the best goalkeeper by, honestly, for some reason, by a mile. I mean, I've never watched him. I saw some highlights, but is Lev Yashin, the Black Spider. Spent his entire career with Dynamo Moscow, achieved 78 caps for the Soviet Union. I couldn't find any stats on him, except for this one post that said that some claim that he has nearly 500 clean sheets in over 800 matches, estimated to have saved 2/3 of the penalties taken against him. He won the Soviet top league 5 times, only goalkeeper to win Ballon d'Or, which he won in 1963. I mean, he became the first goalkeeper ever. I mean, of course, he played back in the 60s, so he was, it wasn't the most illustrious position to have, but he was the first goalkeeper to impose his authority on the defense, which is now considered normal and it's necessary. I mean, he was the best in those few highlights that I saw of him. He was an absolute monster at coming off of his line and like punching out crosses and grabbing that, and and of course his his reaction time and his ability to just stop shots is second to none on this list. He appeared in the World Cup from 1958 to 1970. Was not able to win that title, the World Cup, but he did win the European Championships in France in 1960 and was the runner-up in 1964. He also won a gold medal in the 1956 Olympics. So Lev Yashin, just absolutely killing it, throughout his career, and is widely considered the greatest goalkeeper of all time. So I couldn't not put him there. That seemed to have made this list irrelevant at that point. So Lev Yashin, number one goalkeeper of all time. Hope you guys enjoyed that list. Please let me know in the comment section what you guys think was wrong there. I mean, who would you guys have in your top 10 goalkeepers of all time? So as always, that's going to wrap it up for this show. And thank you for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.